Hey homeschoolers, I'm Melissa Webb, former full-time classroom teacher and homeschool mom turned full-time business CEO. I want to give you sound, educational, practical tips at the same time making sure that you're enjoying the family journey that you are on. So if you are looking for a place to be encouraged and inspired, you have found the perfect podcast. Homeschooling is a work of heart is truly the perfect place to start. So welcome. Let's jump in.
Well, hello, friend. Can you believe it? November is wrapping. Whether you're listening to this when it drops, which is on Thanksgiving Day, happy Thanksgiving, or the day after, maybe you're driving to the mall for Black Friday, or maybe you're walking off some pumpkin pie this morning and listening to this episode. I wanted to end this month with a moment of gratitude. I feel so grateful for what I get to do every week of the year, and that is to work with homeschooling families who trust me enough to journey with them on this academic adventure of writing. This past month, we created a really fun narrative. Feel free to take this and run with it if you love this idea for a prompt. It was called The Wrong Turn Adventure. And we asked our students to write a narrative. It needed to be a realistic narrative. So it could have happened, but it didn't happen. And the students needed to be the protagonist and write the story in first person point of view. So you can see already there were so many things we were teaching about narrative. They needed to include dialogue. They needed to have sensory description. We decided that they would all be on a journey with their family. They got to decide where they were going to be going, or maybe they were coming back from somewhere. Maybe they were trying to get to the airport on time, or many various things. They had the freedom to do that, but they had to lose technology as their helper. So somehow the phones needed to not be working. Their navigation apps were not working. They couldn't rely on the GPS in the car to save them. So this is where they had to get very creative. And I have to say, it was so fun to read some emails from families who said they literally took out the old maps and had a conversation around how they found places before there was technology, and writing down directions and taking those with you. So, all in all, it was a great, fun experience. And the stories that the students wrote were full of imagination, comedies of errors, intent, suspense, a little of everything. They did such a fabulous job. And so I thought, what a treat this month if a few of them had time. It's been a busy week. Would they be willing to read their story for you, our podcast audience? Fortunately for you, I have three kiddos that were willing and able to do just that. And I will just say this, I could have chosen so many stories. It was really difficult because so many were fantastic, but I wanted to give just a little sampling of what a level one writer could create versus a level two or a level three. A level one is a shorter story all the way up to a level three being a longer story. So just more story plot is added within. There's more dialogue, there's more sensory description, just more to the storyline. But all three of these amazing kiddos wrote fantastic stories at these three different levels. And the fact that they were willing to say, sure, I'll read my story just makes me so proud of them, especially knowing that for some of them, this is their first experience with writing and they're willing to read it and put it out to an audience. And I think that when we let our children know that what they create is that important, it's important enough to share with an audience, even just outside of our family, is a big step. So I'm really proud of our three writers. And I would love to hear back from you, the audience. Do you like this? Is this something that I should be doing on a monthly basis and picking different students to read a portion of what they wrote to one, show you what that can sound like, as well as inspire you with some ideas for teaching writing if you're not enrolled in any of our classes, but you listen to the podcast. Is this helpful? Is this inspiring? Do you enjoy it? So that's all I wanted to say there. I'm going to open it up to our first storyteller today. Again, remember, these are all wrong turn adventure stories, family trips where something's about to happen, and I hope you enjoy them all. I'm going to start with Nash, whose family was heading to Disneyland, and I'm going to leave the rest of the storytelling to him. Enjoy.
Nash, Nash, wake up, Dad said. We need to go somewhere. Go where? I asked. It's a surprise, Dad smiled. As Scotty and I begged to know, fine, I surrendered. I'll tell you. We're going to Disneyland. What? Scotty and I screamed at the same time. We're going to Disneyland. Did you not hear me? Dad teased. No way, I yelled. And then Scotty chimed in. This will be my first time. We're all so excited that we didn't even notice it was foggy outside. As we drove to Disneyland, Dad asked Mom to turn on the map on his phone, but the fog made us lose service, so we couldn't turn on or see the directions. Mom tried to turn on the map to navigate us to Disneyland, but her phone only had 1% battery left before it died. We didn't know how to get to Disneyland, and we couldn't call anybody. With one phone having no service and the other having no charge, we now had to find our way to Disneyland somehow. I think I can navigate us there because I've been there many times as a kid, Dad says. Fortunately, he got us close by, but all the parking lots were new and different, so he didn't know where to park. We found some people with Mickey ears walking down the street, and we knew they could help us. We were so happy when they told us we just had to go straight to get to the lot. We made it just in time to get 4 seats on the slowest tram that Scotty called the turtle tram. Once inside the park, we realized our phones to use the lightning lane, or else we would be unable to go on as many rides and have to wait in line all day. We hunted for a charging station for Mom's phone and found a hidden charging station in the castle. While charging Mom's phone, we realized that Dad's phone had service again. Finally, we went on all rides and had the best day ever. We had no issues coming home, and we were thankful for a crazy adventurous day.
Great. Hey, Nash. I love it. I love it so much. So, one of the things that we teach our young writers is when you are brainstorming a story and you're trying to come up with a good storyline, a good story idea, there is a simple acronym they quickly memorize and quickly can put a story together. We call it the SWABS, even though there's no A in it. It's SWBS. The S is somebody. Your story must have a somebody. In Nash's story, it's Nash and his family, but it's Nash as the main character, the protagonist. The W, SW, the W is wanted. So Nash wanted to go to Disneyland with his family. The B is for but. Something must go wrong. A story where nothing goes wrong is a pretty boring story. In this case, we've got Nash wanted to go to Disneyland with his family, but all of their phones were not working, and that kept the navigation from happening. Oh, and that's the final S, SWBS. So, what next? So, Dad had to rely on his memory to get them there. Now, to extend a story, you just need more buts and so's. He could have elongated this story by saying, so dad went from his memory to get us there, but he took us down the wrong road and we ended up on a different freeway. So we had to pull into a gas station. Can you see how you can extend a story with additional but so? That's it. That's the trick. So if you want to write a great narrative with your child, just grab a piece of paper. You can do this as just a verbal practice, but jot down S, W, B, and S and say, okay, who's going to be the somebody of our story? What does that person want? But what's the problem that needs to be solved? So, how do they solve it? A short story has very few buts. Those longer stories have multiple. So, just keep that in mind. And with that, pay attention as you now are going to hear a longer version of that story. Again, remember, they were just told you're with your family on a trip and you lose your navigation, something goes wrong. So, in this next one, I think you'll really enjoy it. Our story told by Emily.
We're almost there. Just 4 more hours left, my dad would enthusiastically call to me and my weary sister. For context, we just left our cabin at Lake Tahoe a few hours ago. If you ask me, it felt more like a multitude of years had gone by. During the winter, Lake Tahoe tends to get snow, so my family thought it would be exciting if we stayed at a cabin there for a week. Spoiler alert! It was a bad idea. We were all worn out from our fun-filled week, and what happened next didn't make anything better. As we were driving, I could see snowing cats and dogs outside. The snow was pattering on top of the roof of the car when I heard my sister gasp quietly. Is anyone else's phone working? My music turned off. She'd ask, a little confused. Not even a split second later, my dad adds, What the heck? The navigation stopped working. My mom slips on her glasses as she peers at her own precious device. Mine's not functioning either. It soon became clear what was happening. We had lost signal. Dad, we don't need navigation, right? I'd ask, chuckling anxiously. So, nobody panic, but, we're lost. I bet the whole highway could hear us holler after my dad said that. Suddenly, Amber gets a grand idea. I wonder if I can find signal somewhere else in here. So she began to move about the car, trying to find her signal. Any signal, really. Unfortunately, her rapid movement made it hard for my dad to drive, so he frantically pulled over to a halt, away from the towering trees and sparkling turquoise lake, with a screech. But as soon as he did, Amber could restore the signal. After some time, I peeked outside my window and noticed something. Where we were parked, there were no trees. We had lost signal while we were driving through the pines. It was the trees blocking the signal the whole time, so we ended up chuckling it off and safely made it home.
Very cool, Emily. So wonderful, right? I love listening to the stories that these amazing young people created all on their own and were willing to share. And I do just want to take a second to truly thank Nash and Emily and our next storyteller, Ray Wynn, for their willingness to not only write the story, of course, they showed up, they did the work, they followed the instructions, but in addition, they were willing to read them and share them with our audience. So I just want to thank them so much for doing that. It's just been such a treat for me and certainly a treat, I hope, for all of you. I do want to just mention a couple things about Emily's great story. I love that she got clever with some figurative language. We all know the idiom, it's raining cats and dogs, and I liked her wit. She's in Lake Tahoe, so it's snowing cats and dogs. So I thought that was clever that she took a twist on a well-known idiom. She also had an onomatopoeia that she threw in there when there was the screech as her dad pulled over frantically to a halt. Again, great vocabulary options, great dialogue. I also loved, where was it? She was using her words to show, not tell. As everybody's checking their phones and it gets to her mom, she doesn't tell us, my mom wears glasses. She shows us. She says, My mom slips on her glasses as she peers at her own precious device. It's a great sentence. It's showing us what her mother is doing, and we can visualize this story. And while it was just a tad bit longer than the first one, you could tell she had just a few more. So this phone wasn't working, but we tried this phone, but that wasn't working. And so we tried this. Just by adding a few more story plot pieces, you can extend that story. And you'll really hear that in the next one. So buckle up for this one. Our last storyteller is Raywin, and she took the idea of something's going to go wrong and you're going to lose all your ability to use any of your navigational apps to a whole other level. Yes, I cannot argue they are not able to use any navigation apps by the time what happens happens. And I'll just leave it at that. But I have a feeling she's going to have you sitting on the edge of your seat. Enjoy.
As we approach our house, I see my cousin waiting on the front porch. She sees us and runs to the car. Even though I'm only a few years older, I always picture her as 9. Ray Ray, she explains. JJ, I say back. How are you? I'm good, thanks. Are you excited to go to Big Bear? I'm so excited. I haven't been to Big Bear in a while. The drive is always windy and I get carsick easily. Are you going to get out of the car or what? Juliana asks. My cousin is wearing some jeans and a plain red t-shirt. Her recently cut, short brown hair is down and, of course, tangled. My mom and I get out of the car, and my cousin comes over and hugs me, and then my mom. Hi, Godmama, Juliana says as she wraps her arms around my mom. The 3 of us start loading up my Auntie Jen's car. Jay mocks me as I fail to lift the suitcase into the trunk. Wow, you are such an overpacker, she comments as she hoists my suitcase into the trunk with ease. I am not, I say indignantly. Also, I was just trying to get you to do it for me, I say with less conviction than I had intended. Yeah, right, she scoffs playfully. Right then, Auntie Jen comes out of the door, dragging her suitcase. My Auntie Jen sees us and quickens her pace. She and my mom exchanged hellos, and then my auntie comes over to me. Hi, Ray Ray. I'm so glad we could make this happen, says Auntie Jen as she hugs me. Me too, I say. I love being with my family. My dad's family lives in Indiana, and my mom's family lives an hour or 2 away. We usually only see them on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and our annual trip to Palm Springs. I've never gone to Big Bear with Juliana. She will probably want to go skiing. I think I will stay in the cabin for that portion of the trip. I think we should get in the car, says Mom. Did anyone forget anything? Nope, Juliana and I chorus. Okay then, let's get to it, says Auntie Jen as we get into the car. The first hour of the drive is pretty uneventful. Juliana and I watch a show on my iPad while our parents talk in hushed voices. Raywin, asks my mom. I take out my AirPod to hear what she is saying. Just to let you know we're reaching the hills, okay? Okay, I answer. Like I said earlier, I get carsick easily, so I put down my iPad and look out the window. The panoramic mountains surround us as we leave the desert. It is beautiful. Even though it is almost pitch black, the winding turns make me feel nauseous. Jay falls asleep, her head on my shoulder. Soon I fall asleep too. I feel a massive jolt as the car hits mine. I scream. We are sliding across the icy ground, and then I feel another jolt on the opposite side as we hit the guardrail. It's pitch black outside, and I can't see a thing. I'm petrified. I hear my aunt say, "Is everyone all right?" I nod mutely as I try to make out my surroundings. Jay? I ask as I look over at my younger cousin. She's gripping the seatbelt so hard her knuckles are white. I've never seen my cousin truly scared before. As I reach out to grasp her hand, the car tilts. This time, Jay screams. Isn't this my worst nightmare? Falling off a mountain in a car? Mom, I scream. All I want is for her to wake me from this terrible dream, but this isn't a dream. I am awake. I hear my heart pounding as the car tilts again. I want to get out, but at that moment my mom yells, "Don't move." It happens in less than a second. The car tilts back as I unbuckle my seatbelt to reach my cousin. With all the strength I can muster, I unbuckle her seatbelt and pull her into the middle of the seat. so she will be safe if the car lands on its side. Or maybe not safe, but safer. That's when the car falls off the mountain. I scream and scream. My life flashes before my eyes. I think about my family, my friends, and every single moment of my life. Things I don't even remember until this moment. The car is somersaulting through the air. The G-forces are too much. I feel the blood rushing into my head. Then black. I feel a soft breeze caressing my hair. I open my eyes, but when I do, it is still pitch black. My head is throbbing. Anxiety floods my chest as I remember what happened. My cousin Juliana's face when our car got hit. The sound of the car creaking as it tipped off the mountain. My family's screams. As I remember this, I wonder, how am I still alive? My body aches, and I feel warm blood trickling down my head. Before I pass out, I hear a soft voice calling my name. When I wake up, I look around and find I'm in an ambulance speeding across the freeway. I turn my head to see Juliana's arm in a splint. I try to sit up and find restraints wrapped across my legs, waist, and arms. I look up to see an EMT approaching me with a shot. I start to scream. I have trianophobia, a phobia of needles/injections. And after what I've been through, I have no interest in getting a needle stuck in my arm. When I wake up a third time, I am no longer restrained. I feel the pinch of an IV in my arm, but it is very slight. My arm feels extremely heavy, but I imagine to lift it to look at it. My fingernails are dirty and caked with blood. It smells like hospital, my least favorite smell. I guess it makes sense, being a hospital and all, but come on! They could at least try to make it smell comforting. As I look around, I see there are curtains surrounding my hospital bed. Maybe Juliana or my mom is behind that curtain. My chest squeezes as I think about my family, especially my mother. Me and my mom have a very special relationship. We can talk to each other about everything. I can't imagine losing her. Suddenly, I see my dad stride through the door. His brisk walk turns into a run when he sees me. "Raywin," he says, tears in his eyes. "Are you okay?" For the first time since the crash, I am able to speak. It is hard, but I manage to get the words out. "Dad," I say hoarsely. "Yes?" he asks. "Is Mommy okay?" I ask, prepared for the worst. Yes, she's alive," Dad says, choking up. "And JJ?" "Yes." "And Auntie Jen?" "Yes." Tears of relief flood my eyes as Dad says my new favorite word, yes. As time goes on, I learn that I bruised my ribs pretty badly and got a serious concussion. I will have to stay in the hospital for at least a month. I moved to a private room that looks more like a bedroom, but not by much. The doctors tell me that if I hadn't moved Juliana to the middle of the seat when I did, she would have died. My mom's okay too. A broken arm and a concussion, but she will make a full recovery. My dad brought my favorite blanket and stuffed animals from my room to the hospital. The doctors even let my dog stay with me and Juliana in our room. As for my Auntie Jen, she got the worst of it. The car landed on the driver's side, and she bruised her tailbone and broke her leg. But she's on the mend. I can't believe we all survived this. I can't even believe this happened. All I know is I am alive, and I will be forever grateful. The end.
Whoa, bravo, Raywin. It is so good. Did you enjoy that one? Oh my goodness. Such a great storyteller, too. I just love the way she delivered that. I enjoyed it as well. It's one thing to read all of these students' essays at the end of our month. And it's a whole other thing, even for me, to enjoy this experience at her getting to read her entire story, which, as you know, is a lengthy one. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. A couple things that I just wanted to point out. Her sensory detail was excellent. There was, right from the beginning, feeling car sick. Did you pick up on all of that? How she mentioned the windy road, using her sensory description to describe her cousins and the travel and the fall and the accident and the injuries, right? Just the whole thing. She did such a wonderful job with that. And I also wanted to mention Did you notice her vocabulary? She made so many excellent vocabulary choices. One of the things we talked about was dialogue and taglines. So, dialogue is what is spoken by a character or maybe a thought that a character has. And the tagline refers to the person and how it was spoken. So, she's in the hospital and she mentions she's talking to her dad at the time and she's finally able to speak. She has not been able to speak for all this time. And she's able to get the words out. She has that line. She says, "But I managed to get the words out. Dad, I say hoarsely." So a lot of times students will just say, "Dad, I asked," or "Dad, I said, I asked." That's the tagline, the person who said it and how they said it. But we encourage our students to be more creative there. And I think she made so many great choices. She said, "Dad, I say hoarsely," which is a great word choice because she hasn't spoken since the accidents, her first words. And there were many times there that she used great vocabulary, both in taglines and just in story details. So there you go. There are our wonderful stories. I hope you enjoyed this. It was something, like I said, I've not tried before or done before. I'd love to hear what you think. I, again, just want to wrap up with these feelings of gratitude as we say goodbye to November and branch out into a new month. I hope that you have a most wonderful whole holiday season. And by all means, if you are inspired to check out some of the things we offer students and classes, we are going to, in January, be opening up the second semester. And we have a few seats. So maybe this was for you. Maybe this was for you to hear today to say, yes, I want to be a part of that. Who knows? Maybe that was this whole inspiration on my part. I don't know. We'll find out. Anyway, have a most wonderful day, everybody. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next week. Right on.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in and listening this week. Hey, if this was something that you found valuable, don't forget you want to subscribe or follow so that every time a new episode is dropped, you'll be the first to know. And hey, before you go, if you are looking to get some of this academic writing under your belt and outsourced so that it's one less thing, freeing you up to enjoy more time with your family, hey, you're going to want to head over to writeonweb.com to see what kinds of resources and materials I have available for you. I will look forward to seeing you there, and I will look forward to seeing you here in our next episode. Right on.